Hello and welcome to CIT225, Database Design and Administration. I am your teacher, Brother Stevick, and I'm here to guide you on the journey to all things that is the world of the RMDBS, or the Relational Database Model. I have been doing this for about 15 years. I really enjoy being a DBA. I enjoy working with data because, let's face it, data is what drives the world right now. I mean, how often have you been perusing social media after searching for, I don't know, a truck or something, doing some Google searches for something, and next thing you know, you're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, and there's an ad for the exact same thing you're looking for that's now offering you a discount to buy it. That's data. It's data at work. They're capturing all the data of your searches. They're using it, against you when you're searching through social media. So everything you use gathers data. You've got smartwatches, smart devices, your phones, everything's gathering data, and it's all need to be kept track of. Companies, schools, everyone gathers data. It needs to be kept track of and utilized and put in a format that people can read and understand. And this class is your journey into that, how to create tables, how to understand how tables talk to each other via indexes and keys, how to write SQL and update and insert statements and even delete statements to modify the data. And yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing this semester. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Today, the lesson is really just centered around getting your virtual machine running and how to kind of exist in that world. So I'm going to go into that. We're going to bring up the virtual machine. We're going to take a look at it, see what we need to do with it, what the tools in there you're going to be using, how to open up the files, and how to submit things. Two quick thoughts about the virtual machine. First of all, at this point in time, I am assuming that everyone here has, in fact, downloaded virtual VMware, downloaded their VM, extracted the files, and opened it up, and now you're looking at the same screen that we're going to be looking at. If you have not, it's difficult to download. Let me know, and I will help you out as best I can. If you've not gotten your key yet to get the unlocked version of VMware, please make sure you look at your email, and it's going to be in there, or reach out to the help desk, and they will help you find the key that you need. Once you have downloaded the zip file, unless you have space issues on the device you're using, please save the zip file. During the semester, a number of students in the past have had issues where their database becomes corrupt or their image becomes corrupt, and they're kind of dead in the water. The beauty of this class is if, like on week 5, something happens and your image becomes corrupt and you can't open it up again, you have your script files that you sent me. You can use those. You can unzip a new version, a shiny new version of the VM, initialize that, load it up, run your four files from weeks 1 through 4, and you're back up to speed for week 5. So that's first number one. So keep that zip file someplace where you can access it if necessary. Second thing is, please make sure that your VMware files are not stored on your desktop. Your desktop is a volatile environment, and bad things happen there all the time. You just don't know about it. If you shut down the machine wrong, if you shut down the machine right, you can have a non-elegant shutdown of the desktop, and files on there can be corrupted. Luckily, generally speaking, when you reboot the computer, everything is recreated and everything's fine and it can fix things. VM files aren't so lucky. They tend to like to stay corrupted if they stay on the desktop and bad things happen. So make sure you get a file on that C drive of yours, put your VMware stuff there. If it's not there, put it there now and just reopen it and say, hey, it's really here. I lied, it's not on the desktop. And go ahead and do that. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen, and we're going to look at our stuff here. Okay, so here we go. Let's start here. Okay, so now, if you have successfully downloaded the VM files and you've successfully installed VMware, this is the screen you're looking at. You logged in with a student account with the password can't get in, and there you are, and you're looking at this. So the two things we're going to talk about specifically today on the desktop, everyone knows what Google Chrome is. I hope you know what Google Chrome is. We're going to talk about console, and we're going to talk about kwrite. Kwrite is a text editing program. That's all it is. It's like Notepad on Windows. It is a text editing program. It edits text, and that's its entire job. Console is a command prompt where you can go ahead and get into the guts of the machine, run commands from there, find files, run files from there, and you can also run the SQL engine from the command prompt. That's what we're going to be doing today. This thing called SQL Developer, we'll talk about that later. There's something wrong with it right now, and I've got to get a fix for that. And as soon as I get a fix for it, we'll kind of discuss what SQL Developer can do. But for right now, we're talking about console and kwrite. So the first we're going to talk about is every lab will have a .SQL file that will be your starting point for the lab. If we go into the settings here, we go to File Manager, we'll see something called Data. And in Data, we'll see something called CIT225, and then Oracle, and there are all our lab files, 1 through 14. You can't miss them. In each of these is a single SQL file. So let's go ahead and open this. Oh, actually, let me go ahead and delete all these things because this is from something I was running before. You'll see these again. It won't be let me show it to you what it's gonna look like when you do it. Okay, that's right. So when you open it, it's gonna look, like this. Okay, now let's pretend that's how it looked when we opened it. Boom, just two files, a folder called tutorial and a file called apply Oracle labs.sql. The .sql extension means that this is a SQL file that the engine knows that there's code in there it needs to run and will be able to run the code. It will not run a .txt file, it will not run a doc file, it will not run anything else other than a .sql file. To open said file, let me go here and just close these out real quick. Hang on one second. It's almost like a real classroom because, you know, I was doing something before and left everything open and now I'm just closing it all. Okay, here we are. So let me close this here too. Okay, so if I want to open this, if I right click it, it's going to say open with, and I want to open it with, these are other things you can use, but we want to specifically use kwrite. So open with kwrite. And it should open. There we are. Okay. Now, let's talk about the anatomy of this .SQL file. You'll see all these little things with dashes here. 2 dashes means it's commented out, which means it's good to keep notes in your code to make sure you understand what's going on. I put like dash dash, this does this here, and that comments it all out. So it can appear in your code, it will show up there, but it will not do anything other than, you know, explain to you or someone who's following you what this code is actually doing. For example, here, we've got this comment here, clean up prior installations and run previous lab scripts. So what that's saying is that these 4 commands here are running SQL commands, running SQL files, clean up oracle.sql, create Oracle store SQL, so on and so forth. We're running those within this SQL file, but it's reaching out to run those at different locations. The two at 4 signs here tell the SQL engine, go find this document, this SQL file and run it for me. And here it's in the home, student, data, so on and so forth, until you get to the actual file name, which is clean up Oracle SQL, and it's gonna run those 4. Okay, so if you go through your hierarchy of folders, you will see these folders there. You can open these files and see what they do, and I encourage you to do so. But for the purpose of the video today, we're just gonna say 2 @ signs and a location in a file that will run in your folder. Okay. Going down here, the next one is we've got this spool command. Spool commands are very important. Spool commands, when this runs, spool apply oracle lab.txt, what it's going to do, it's going to create a text file in the same location that this file exists. Okay, that's what we want. We want that in the exact same place that that file exists. Because when you submit your weekly labs to me, you're going to send me the .SQL file where you wrote your code, and you're going to send me the text file that was created by the spool so I can see what happened when you wrote your code. Because this will show me everything that happened in the code when it ran. And it will show me everything that happened between the spools. And here's your spools, okay? When this code runs, anything that happens between these two spools is going to show up in that spool file. Nothing up here. Anything that happened here will not show up, okay? But only what happens in here, okay? Now, that being said, so what this code is going to do, it's going to run these 4 commands, and basically what those 4 commands are doing is they're dropping old tables, creating new tables, and populating those tables with data, okay? We're going to get more into that later, but for right now, just that's what they do. The spool command fires off, and then let's pretend this wasn't here. We need to write a command here that is going to let us know that the tables were created. So what I'm basically doing is I'm walking you guys through lab 1. If you turn in exactly what I show you today, you'll get a perfect score on the lab. So it's a great way to start a semester. So we want to write a simple select command. So select table name from user tables. And all this is going to do is it's going to run this command and show us a list of all the table names that exist in the table user tables. Before we do this and before we save this, we're going to jump over here to the console, and I'm going to open the console now. It's going to take a second to open. Okay, so now we're in the console. This is just a command prompt for those of you familiar with command prompts. It opens up in your local file folder. Now, the 2 things you got to learn to do here is 1, how to navigate to the appropriate folder, because you can't run a file unless the console is in that file, which means right here where it says student at localhost, this means you're just in your desktop. You're not in a place specific. This part here needs to say where you are. So there's a command called cd. It stands for change directory. It's been around since forever. So we want to do change directory, and we're going to go to data / CIT225 / Oracle / lab1. And if you're wondering where I got that from, I got it from here. That's where your file is, okay? So now we have this here, and if we want to make sure we're in the right file and find the right things, there's a command called dir. It stands for directory. If we hit that, it will show us everything that's in that folder. So there's our tutorial folder, and there's the file that we need to run. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to start the SQL engine from here. Now I know in the stuff that you have, it says you just go SQL plus and then student / student and hit enter. I know it's easier, it might seem crazy, but I don't like doing that. I like doing it to where I'm seeing what's going on, because if errors happen, if I do too many things in one line and errors happen, I'm not really sure why it happened. So I'll just do one thing in a line. So I'll hit SQL plus, I'll hit enter. It'll say, what's your username? My username is student. Student. My password is student. And now I'm in there. So where I am, I'm in the command prompt. I can still run command prompt commands. I have to do an exclamation point with it. So if I want to do directory, if I do dir here, it's not going to work. But if I do exclamation point dir, it'll show me the directory of the file that I'm in. Because exclamation point says, hey, I'm not running something SQL right now. I'm running something just command prompt. Please just run it for me. So there's that. So the thing is, you are now in SQL. You are now in Oracle. You can run commands from here. So if I want to run that command, select table name from user tables, I can do that here. Select table name from user tables and hit enter. And you'll notice that a number 2 showed up and the command didn't actually run. That is because if you don't put a semicolon after the code, the engine doesn't know that it's a command. It just thinks you're typing things just to type things. So let's do the same thing again. By the way, if you write a command and hit the up arrow, it just comes back up. So put a semicolon and everything comes up, okay? So you can run queries from inside the command prompt by throwing a semicolon after it. And this is kind of a way to double check things and see what's going on. So I'm gonna jump back here to my Kwrite real quick. and you'll see that command I wrote, select table name from user tables. I have to put a semicolon there or it won't run. Because if I put any text in there without a semicolon, it's just going to show it in the log file saying, hey, this text was there, but there was no semicolon, so we didn't know what to do with it. So we just went ahead and just showed it to you that it was there. So got to put the semicolon there. You'll notice here, everything that ends in a semicolon is actually code that's going to run. So now I'm going to go ahead and save this. Okay, so that's saved. I can minimize this. So how do I run that from here? I'm going to do this so we can look at the folder when we do this and see the magic that happens there. So let's put this over here. So how do I run this file from here? Well, if you remember, when you ran a file from within a file, use that. If you're just running a file from the command prompt, just use one of them. And we do apply Oracle lab1.sql. And when I hit enter, that will run. So when I hit enter, it'll open up the file, look at all the codes that's in there, run that code. It's going to run those 4 other files that exist in the places, get that code run, and then it's going to run that one little select statement that I put there. Okay, I'm going to hit enter. I forgot to put a semicolon. I didn't need a semicolon because the at @ was there. All this stuff is run. Notice all these text files that are being created here. Notice here, there's my select statement that ran. Okay. Now when we look here, we've got all these text files. What that means in those the 4 SQL files that we ran, there are a bunch of spool files, and here's everything that happened in them. So all I care about is this SQL file and this text file. Those are the only 2 things I care about, because those are the only 2 things that I got to send to the teacher, or you got to send to me. So if we open this up using kwrite, it's going to show us everything that's there once it does it. Okay, here's everything that happened. Here's the command that I wanted to run. Here's the results of the command that I wanted to run. Here's saying level 1 is complete, and all is done. There's the spool off command. So there's that. So now, another big question I get a lot is, how exactly do I send this to you? Because I'm in this VMware system. How do I get this out to you? Well, that's actually pretty simple. We got Google Chrome right here, right? Let's click that bad boy. Let's bring the browser up. It's a little slower than normal. And I have in here, for me, you're going to have to add it yourself, but I've got a bookmark that takes me to the authentication page to BYU Idaho. I log into my student account from here, and I upload it directly from here. That means it exists. So what you're doing is you're taking it out of the VM and throwing it up into the cloud on BYU site, which means your code is safe. Should something bad happen, you need to rerun it. So that's that. Let me stop the share. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's lesson 1. Like I said, if you do exactly what I showed you to do and submit that to me, you get a perfect grade for the first week, and that is not too bad. In the coming weeks, we're going to get more in depth. Just so you know, I will put 1 video out a week based on what's happening in that particular lab. I will generally put a second video out with some kind of deep dive topic. That something's not necessarily covered by the course, but just because I find it terribly interesting and like to talk about it. For example, next week, I'm going to provide a second video that talks specifically about how select statements are actually processed by the engine. And what I mean by engine is SQL Server is an engine. Oracle is an engine. It's something that continues to run under the covers of an operating system while it's there, because the database is always running. So they refer to that as an engine. And when you give a SQL statement or any T-SQL statement to the engine, it will process it in a certain way. And I find it terribly interesting how it processes it, because it's not how you think it would. But that's for next week. Also, you'll see a video of just what's going on for Lab 2. So expect 1 to 2 videos a week. My office hours are on demand. If you need to talk to me, I will make myself available to you. Make sure you reach out to the TA. There's great tutoring involved, available to you that you can use in addition to myself and the TA. And if you have any questions, or if you have a topic that you kind of want to get into that, like, you're reading something, hey, well, how do indexes work? Let me know. I'll do a quick video on it for you so I can explain index work, which I'm going to make one of those anyway because I really find it interesting how indexes work. But other than that, that's week 1. I hope you're having a great week, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.